Good evening.
Good evening.
And we're back after a 2-month break for an evening video, which we're back in the swing.
Definitely.
We've been playing for about, 4 hours of music, actually, since 7 o'clock.
So we've got a big stack here.
Loads of music to share. And for anyone who hasn't watched the John and Mark combination before, we've just play each other records, mostly try and make some kind of connection between what we play, but often we don't. And yeah, we just talk about what we played. And I kicked off with this album. Oh, a lot of glare. Oh, there we go. Which is Michael Gregory Jackson and the album Heart and Center, which was one of his Arista albums from, I think, the late 70s. We listened to a track called We're Connecting Now, or We're Connected Now, which is definitely something that we need to all be doing. And just, reminding myself of what an incredibly uncategorizable artist he is. A wonderful writer, singer, guitar player. I guess almost too eclectic to pigeonhole, which probably has been his downfall. But John sort of thought he sounded a bit like Shuggy Otis, and I guess Shuggy Otis, Lewis Taylor are the kinds of people that come to mind when you're just thinking of people you can't really put into a box.
Because he comes from an improvised music background.
Yeah.
Makes it even weirder.
Yeah.
Big fan. I mean, Bill Frisell and Pat Metheny are both massive fans of his, which I think shows how good he is, really. And Pat Martino passed away a couple of weeks ago, since we had the last session a few weeks ago, and I've played the track off the title track off Starbright, and very different to the other Pat albums on Prestige and elsewhere, but very, another wonderful musician, really. And he was obviously out of, in a sense, influenced by Wes Montgomery, but definitely had his own sound as well. And very notably had to learn how to play guitar again after a brain aneurysm. Interesting artist.
Yeah, staying with guitarists, there was a fantastic Frank Zappa documentary that was here in the UK 2 or 3 weeks back. And I was prompted to pick up this, which is Shut Up and Play Your Guitar, triple vinyl box set of Frank Zappa guitar solos, culled from various live and I think 1 or 2 studio performances, often just the guitar solo kind of tweaked out of other bits of material, and incredibly well recorded. Fantastic kind of improvisations going on between Frank and often, who was the drummer? Vinnie Colaiuta, yeah. We listened to the track called While You Were Out. And yeah, just wonderful stuff, actually. What a great film. If you haven't seen the Zappa documentary, what a legend. What a genius this guy was.
I think it's on Apple in the States.
Yeah, what an amazing guitar player as well.
A lot of those solos were recorded at Hammersmith Odeon. I'm so old, I was actually there for some reason. So I got my Zappa out as well while that's it, and played one of the many versions of Black Page of Zappa in New York, this is the reissue with the extra album. So it's a triple vinyl set. Nice job, and not very expensive either. So beautifully mastered by Chris Bellman, and it's just got a rather lot of Zappa, so it's all good.
First of a brand new album selection from me. This is a collaboration between musicians from the UK and from the African continent, made in association with the Total Refreshment Centre and the British Council, we notice. And it's called On Our Own Clock. I think a lot of collaborations that were recorded during the lockdown, so people flipping files between continents. From the UK, we've got people like Danalog and Alabaster de Plume. From Africa, a whole bunch of people who I don't actually know. Demola Owolade. I'm not even going to go and attempt to pronounce any of these names, but a really interesting fusion. You know, often these things you know, can be okay, but not brilliant. But actually, this is a really, really nice album. So highly recommended on our own clock. Yeah. Oh, what did we listen to? Can't remember, but it was great.
In the previous life, I was director of music for the British Council.
Indeed.
This is not much giveaway here.
No,
at all.
Wonderful, John.
This is a record by a new album from Sam Gendel and Josiah Steinbrick, which has just come out and also almost immediately been sold out as well. There's only 347 copies of it. Sam Gendel was or is a saxophone player. He's played with all over the place in Los Angeles, and it's an interesting one. This one, it's not slightly different to his album with Sam Wilkes, which I think we showed at the last session. It's Josiah Steinbrick's more of a kind of sound designer, kind of ambient artist than a straightforward musician, but it's good stuff anyway. If you can find minimal. Much more minimal. You can find a copy, dig it out quickly.
Okay, another album that I picked up last week, and again something that's just come out. Very New Yorker flavor. The band are called Conclave or Conclave. I think that's actually the name of the album as well. There's the sort of Louis Vega is involved in the record label who've put this out, who are Love Injection Records, and yeah, it's a kind of real kind of hybrid of, you know, there's sort of house, broken beat, sort of Latin New Yorker style music, really nice vocals. Yeah, just a really great album actually, yeah, and I'm delighted to have it. We played a track called Rise, which is fantastic, so check that out on your streaming or YouTube platforms, but a great album.
Yeah, not sure. There wasn't really much of a connection with my next record, but it was one from quite a long time ago, actually, probably 1994, by Jack Soul, who were a band out of Canada, evidently. And the track is called Unconditional Love, which is a gorgeous song, actually. Sorry, I need to strip off. Let me strip off this.
Strip it off, John.
You can actually see, yeah. Definitely, it only came out, I think this track's only actually on the 12-inch single, but it's a good, it's kind of, I don't know how, it's a kind of a little bit of a kind of same kind of feel as something like Family Stand, that kind of feel from that kind of time, but a great track.
Really nice track, got that myself. So last Saturday, in fact a week ago today, at our local record store, Creekside Vinyl, this band, who are called Vertal, did an in-store performance as a trio. They are mainly Theo Howarth on keyboards and Ajit Gill on drums and percussion, and joined by a guest bass player. And I guess they're in the sort of that kind of Kamal Williams, Yusuf Day's kind of vibe. UK new jazz fusion, I guess it is. Really nicely produced double vinyl album. It's called Paradigm Shifting, and if you like that kind of sound, I highly recommend this album. And we listened to a track called Jewels, as in D-U-E-L-S, as opposed to Jewels.
I then went with Donald Fagen. Not sure again what the connection was, actually. I think I was being random, as I say. And went for his last solo album, actually, Sunken Condos, and played the track Weather in My Head, which is a kind of not a bit of an underrated record, actually. Definitely growing on me more and more, actually, the more I listen to it. Came out in 2012. And I don't need to say who Donald Fagen is, I hope.
You don't need to say who he is. This is more Donald Fagen. This is the Nightfly Live from 2019, which is basically a live version of the album The Nightfly, and given an extra injection of groove. I don't know, I almost prefer this to the studio album, or maybe it's just it feels fresher at the moment. But fantastic drumming from Keith Carlock. We listened to Green Flower Street, which was grooving, and yeah, beautifully recorded as well. Amazing harmony vocals on the tunes as well. Really, really nice. Highly recommended.
Staying with the live thing, I went back to 1979 and another gig I went to obviously going to spend a lot of time going to gigs, and this was Little Feat. This is Little Feat from Waiting for Columbus, most of which was recorded at the Rainbow Theatre in London
and Finsbury Park.
And this is towards the end of the kind of really good period of Little Feat, but it's still a great album. And they were working with the Tower of Power horn section on this tour, and it was such a strange gig in London. There was a whole kind of cordoned off area at the front of the venue where basically every single UK rock star was actually worshipping at the feet of Little Feat. They were Ligging, absolutely. And played off this Spanish Moon, the classic track Spanish Moon. Somebody described this as being one of the best sounding live albums ever made, and I think it's got an incredible kind of huge sound stage. Definitely worth getting one of the early pressings of this. Yeah.
Okay, we moved, staying in the same kind of time zone. I think this is about 1979. Esther Phillips, one of her Kudu albums, and the album called For All We Know. And we listened to a very sort of psychedelic Latin track called Going Out of My Head, which had some fantastic percussion. It's really nice production, great backing vocals, wonderful timbales playing, great bass playing from Will Lee, and obviously the incredibly distinctive voice of Esther Phillips.
Yeah, it sounded great actually, especially the kind of instrumental section at the end. Actually, really this is one I've shown many times before, I think, on sessions, so I won't talk about it too much. Lou Courtney's "In the Mood for Love," and played the track off this. Which track did I play? I can't actually remember what I played. I don't need nobody else. I know this is a big Mellow Man, particularly, is a big fan of this record, and it's for me one of the best soul albums of the 70s actually, and everyone should have it. So Soul Brother reissued it about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's great.
Well, I again sort of been out and about a bit more the last sort of week or so, and on Monday caught the documentary Spirit of Soul, which I know John has already seen. Summer of Soul, which I know John has already seen 3 times, but a standout artist for me was Gladys Knight, who appeared in the film alongside a whole host of other incredible performers. And if you haven't seen that film, you really, really need to see it. It's absolutely sensational. But yeah, Gladys Knight and the Pips, and actually we listened to their version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine, which they perform on the film, which is fiery to say the least.
Yeah, great stuff. So staying with the Motown vibe, I went for played the Got to Give It Up, which is I was looking for years actually, and eventually somebody told me it's actually nestling on the full side of this Marvin Gaye live album. And of course, it's not a live track at all; it's a studio track. But if you ever want to, I mean, it's a very good record to play at a party. That track, because it goes on for 14 minutes, and it's an excellent groove. But the live bits of this album are okay. They're not as good as other Marvin live stuff, but Got to Give It Up is an absolute classic track, and you can pick this up for very small amounts of money. Actually, is worth it for side 4.
Well, for those regular viewers, you'll be delighted to know at this particular juncture, John and I disappeared and had a Portuguese tart each,
and some goat's cheese,
No,
sheep's cheese.
Yeah,
get it right.
And returned to listen to this, which I think is a stunning album, a collaboration between Dave Akomu, Jonas Policewoman, and the late Tony Allen. And the album is called The Solution is Restless. And we listened to the track called Enter the Dragon. And I just think this is a fantastic album. I've only had it a couple of weeks, but it's multi-layered, really interesting to listen to. I guess sonically reminding me of a little bit like Radiohead, actually, Moses Sumney, and also latter period David Bowie. But yeah, actually really, really works. Very interesting.
Thinking probably the multi-layered thing, whenever I get this record out, and I'm sure I've shown this before in a session as well, it's just remarkable. It just sounds like nothing else. And that's Dr. John Grigri, and we played the track Walk on Gilded Splinters, and there's so much going on. If you're looking for an amazing headphone record, this is the one actually, because there's so much going on in the background in this, which you can't often pick up, however good. Mark's speakers are pretty incredible, but sometimes there's stuff buried away in the background here. And yeah, it's just still sounds, there's nothing else like it really.
Yeah, and sort of dynamic, very dynamic,
Yeah.
sort of really kind of draws you in because there's not much happening.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just occasions it just drops down to a conga drum.
Yeah.
Bit of a random drop, actually, just because I happened to have this and felt it was time for some reggae. On the Exterminator record label, Philip Fattis Burrell, the producer, this features a whole load of tunes from the 90s that were, I guess, sort of roots reggae tunes that I wasn't that familiar with, but they're all bundled up nicely on the Legacy Chapter 1, and we listened to Sugar Minot's Run Things.
Yeah. How many labels did Sugar Minot record for?
Probably virtually every label.
Virtually every label there was, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't bring any reggae with me, which was a really kind of sin of omission. So I dropped some hip hop instead and played the track Mardi Gras at Midnight from this Tribe Called Quest EP called The Jam. And found out this week that this track's only on this EP and a very, very obscure Japanese CD compilation. For me, it's one of the best Tribe Called Quest tracks. It's a Dilla production and samples Peace Go With You Brother from Kill Scott Heron on that as well. Really good one. Pick this up. It's actually starting, the value of it's starting to go up this piece. So you need to pick it up quite soon, I think.
Next up for me was this album, which again is a fairly recent acquisition from Charles Erland and Odyssey. And the album is called Revelation. And the thing that immediately drew me into this is that Paul Jackson, the bass player, is playing the bass on pretty much all of the tunes. We listened to a track called Ode to Chicken George that just had an absolutely sensational Michael Brecker sax solo. But yeah, some really nice tunes on this. Definitely some cheap heat. Pick it up.
Michael Brecker making his second appearance, which is on the Frank Zappa.
Indeed.
Well. Had a CTI binge actually which is also represented on the radio show on Sunday as well this week. And Hubert Laws, this is my favorite Hubert Laws record called Morning Star, which was his second record. Arrangements by Don Sebesky, Billy Cobham, Bob James, Ron Carter, the usual crew on there. But it's just got some great material on this record. Some of his stuff can be a little bit gimmicky, but not so much his playing, but the choice of covers he does. But this is just great stuff, actually. Really good. Beautiful sounding record as well.
Well, next up we had from the album The Sorcerer, Miles Davis. I'd read some Instagram post about the track called Mascalero, which was describing this track as sort of having magical qualities. Because it's sort of kind of fairly impenetrable and kind of almost just is like a track in the ether. It's quite a magical listen, and great. Just didn't sound like anything else. Very groundbreaking. Lovely stuff from Wayne Shorter on here as well. Great album.
The Instagram post was a guy called Jazz and Coffee, and who does some he's a really good writer, actually. And if you check him out on Instagram, he does usually every couple of days, he does a very long, interesting, well-written album review. We had a break, and we came back from the break with, I was looking for my copy of the first Neil Young album. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I picked up the repress or the remaster, and it sounds absolutely incredible. And really kind of very, very reasonably priced as well, and just sounded kind of luminous, didn't it? The track played the old Laughing Lady of that, and it's kind of interesting. It's almost like an alternative path that Neil Young never really took, and it's very different from the Crazy Horse stuff and the other stuff he's done since, actually. But it's still a great album to listen to, actually, and beautifully produced.
Yeah, sounded weirdly quite contemporary.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I followed that with Leah Evans, who is a UK-based singer, very understated. I really love her voice. Very, unrecognized in the UK. And she's released a couple of collaboration albums and maybe a couple of solo albums. I first came across her at the Smugglers Festival in Deal, and this album is just a bunch of collaborations with loads of different artists, and we listened to a track called Miles Away that featured Brooke Sharkey.
Then pulled out Joe Henry, his album Reverie, and played the track Piano Furnace, which also features Lisa Hannigan on vocals. And this was a great, I mean, Joe Henry is an amazing producer. He's produced everybody from Michel Ndegeocello to Chaz and Dave at different times. But he's got a wonderful kind of very much about getting the musicians on the floor of the studio and playing together rather than doing lots and lots of overdubs and so forth. And this was recorded at the studio, and they left the doors of the studio open, so you can hear the outside world creeping in as well. So you hear dogs barking and howling and kids playing and all kinds of stuff outside. It's a very, very atmospheric record. Some great songs on it as well. And it's called Reverend. It came out in 2011.
Next up, I followed up with this album, which has a similar texture. Actually, what is your texture, John?
Very matte.
Very matte texture. This is the new Cleo Sole album called Mother, which is a double album this time, again produced by Inflow. And again, anybody who's been watching this channel will know I'm a great fan of her sound, which is very sort of understated and kind of innocent and beautiful. And she's just had a baby. And that's sort of been the subject matter for this album. And we listened to the last track on the fourth side, which was called Spirit.
Somebody I don't think is such as her baby is Michael Franks. If he has, it's a miracle. And it's kind of almost guilty pleasure stuff with Michael Franks, but I think he's great. Actually, I've always really liked his music. And this is from Tiger in the Rain, which is one of his kind of mid-period, I guess, like late 70s, 1979, and played the track When It's Over, which has some great guitar playing from Joe Corro on there. Gorgeous sounding guitar.
Very nice.
And I think he's just starting to get hip now, finally, Michael Franks.
Yeah.
The people,
no longer guilty
interesting pleasure. People playing.
So there's a record stall holder in the town of Faversham who appears a couple of times a week. And just recently he's been having his £1 bin, and I've just been finding loads of great records, including this one, which is the Average White Band with Benny King album from 1979. And we listened to the Ned Doheny penned track called Get It Up for Love. And yeah, great production, great playing, and as ever, wonderful drumming from Steve Ferrone.
Staying in the UK side of things, went for Terry Reid with the worst ever. I've shown this before, actually. I'd show the back, actually.
No, let's have the front with your body.
That's right. That's good. I remember, I was saying to Mark, I remember actually ordering this record when it came out. This is the original copy. And I really liked Terry Reid and kind of had to order this as an import because it was never released in the UK originally. And then when they pulled the album out of the cover and saw the picture, I thought, oh my God, what's going on here? It's actually a fantastic record. Really great record, produced by Graham Nash.
Album cover designed by?
Yeah, somebody called, what are they called?
Twerk,
that's right.
Twerk.
The art direction by Twerk, and it looks like it as well. And I played the track Faith No More of it, which is, and don't be put off by the cover, put it in a brown paper bag, but definitely listen to the record because it's beautiful.
Okay, my final tune of the night, which although it says 22 quid, I actually had a discount on this. It was 18 quid. It's one of the recently reissued kind of cheaper price Blue Notes, mastered by Kevin Gray, and it's Ready for Freddie Hubbard, and the track Weaver of Dreams, which is the ballad. Absolutely beautiful.
And to be a bit controversial, I did notice a bit of a digital glitch on that. Did you notice that?
No.
At one point, yeah. You play it, next time you play it, have a listen. There's a
digital glitch.
A digital glitch on what's meant to be an analog.
Good God.
Record. Yeah. So we'll find out. So I played the last track was I played. I don't know what it was. What did I play? What was the name of the track? Played Zenith Blue off the Pat Metheny Side Eye album, and it sounded absolutely incredible. Actually. I mean, I mean, the keyboard player, James Francis, it's him and Pat and different drummers at different time. Absolutely extraordinary. And he's playing bass lines and solos at the same time. It's just extraordinary stuff. And they're coming to the UK next year, so we're very excited about that. And the reviews this lineup's getting in America are just off the scale, really. And it's great to see an artist who is getting on a bit now. Actually, Pat just really challenging himself. Actually, there's no way that he's
next level.
No way he's taking it easy at all.
No.
And yeah, definitely worth it. If you don't know this record, you need to pick it up. It's absolutely fantastic.
Great. Well, that's it, folks. Very nice to be back. As ever, always love to hear from you if you want to give us a comment. And, yeah, take care. Strange old times as ever, but at least John and I are in the same room. It's an improvement.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll see you
next time. And there's always music.
There's always music. Oh, and just to say, final plug, we both have excellent radio shows every week. Tune in, the links below.
Well, Mark has 2 excellent radio shows.
I have 2 a week. John's got 1.
Yeah.
Anyway, see you later, folks.
See you soon. Thanks for watching.